Welcome back, everybody, to the Rec Room with Brian Rector. And today is episode 35. I say it every time, but it's crazy that it's gotten to this point, 35. We just recently had on Abby Larson, a freelance video editor with Big Ten Network. The week before was Dan Meskey, the head coach of Louisville, the Cardinals, flying high. We're staying on the volleyball train, though, with this one right here. And I'm very excited. Anytime that there's an Oregon connection, I have to tap into that thing and see what's going on. So when I had reconnected with Miss Daly McClellan, shout out, let's go, the Oregon Ducks, another one of those, flying high, let's go. I realized that she had a teammate back in high school, Canby High School, just across the river from Wilsonville, where I grew up, and her name is Ruby Kayser. Now, Ruby is sitting over here. I'm hoping maybe it's over here. We'll see how it edits, and I'll take that thing out just like that. I'm not sure what side it's on. It's one of these ways. But I happen to know and happen to follow along after learning about Daly's journey at Canby and where she's at with the University of Oregon, and then getting to know Coach Matt Ulmer, and then all of these things connect to where Daly and I get connected at Michigan State. And then it was only organic, I thought, to reach out to Miss Kayser and see what she's been up to as a volleyball athlete at Colorado State. Go Rams, let's go. And then at Texas A&M Corpus Christi, the Islanders playing beach volleyball. So I'm really excited to break it down because a lot like the show we just had with Abby Larson, who's video editor at Big Ten Network, this lady is another one who's working on being an aspiring broadcaster and looking to forge her path into that section of whether it's in-game hosting, sideline reporting, anything that has to do with studio, commentary. You can do all that. So without further ado, Ruby Kayser, welcome to the Rec Room, and how are you doing?
Thanks, Brian. I'm super glad that you reached out. Like you said, Daly's like my longest, bestest friend. So got to see some pictures of you guys when she got to go to Michigan State and play against them. So I was super psyched when you reached out, and I'm excited to be on the podcast. I watched some of your clips before this, and you always do a great job. Very entertaining. I'm honored that you asked me.
Well, thank you. And I think what you just touched on speaks to the fact that the volleyball world is pretty dang small, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those communities where, as you had mentioned before we started rolling, that I'm just getting into. I've been within the sport for the last couple of years at Michigan State, seeing that it's a bigger deal than maybe it was in high school in Oregon, right? The Big Ten is something really special. Now we talked about off camera the fact that the conference is coming together. That's what led to me and Daly being together in East Lansing back in November. But then in your case, too, you played at Colorado State, then played at Texas A&M Corpus Christi. I want to know, Ruby, in these different situations, take me back to, at first, Canby, and then playing in both of these different environments. What is a takeaway and a way that your mindset has changed relating to the game and college athletics in each of the spots that you've been at?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think that's something that I've realized a lot too. I've done some coaching lately of high school girls, and I've just done a lot of reflecting on how much I've changed as a player and how my coaching philosophy has evolved as well. At Canby, Daly and I, Canby's a pretty small school. They're 5A now, but they were 6A, which was the highest in Oregon when we were in high school. And every year we kind of struggled to make the playoffs until my senior year. And my senior year, everything kind of just came together at the end of the season. Daly is a great player, plays at University of Oregon. She was a DS there, but extremely talented outside hitter in high school. She still is my favorite outside hitter that I've ever played with. She just does amazing things. And I was able to set for my high school team. So I ran the offense, and the offense was Daly. So it was run Daly to the outside, run her to the backside, run her in the middle. She could do it all. So it was pretty fun. And we made a run in the state championship. We got third at state my senior year, which is the highest my high school has ever placed, and just getting the opportunity to play just in the state tournament was so cool for us. And that's one of my favorite memories. They canceled school that day. Everyone from my town, like small town, came out and supported us there. It was loaded of thousands of Canby fans. And so that was just a really special, I think, one of those moments that is hard to recreate unless you're in high school. Like, it was a very high school Friday Night Lights, like that kind of moment for us. And it was one of my favorite sports memories ever. And then committed to play at Colorado State, I think when I was a junior in high school, and I was a libero DS in club. I played for Oregon Juniors in Portland and loved my club experience, had great coaches. And Colorado State was a really cool opportunity because it is a mid-major, but historically an elite volleyball program. And so when I had come in, they had a 25-year NCAA tournament streak and just like really created a championship culture at this level, where I came to a school that I wanted a big school feeling, but a place where I could still be a leader and kind of feel like I knew everyone and make my mark. And I feel like I really did that. So I really treasure my time at Colorado State. I have a lot of pride in my school. And I mean, I'm back here this summer. I love Fort Collins. It's the coolest place to live. I'm going to a volleyball event on Monday with some boosters and stuff. I'm still super connected with the program, and I had a great time. It was a little wild. Freshman year was COVID for me, so playing in an arena that holds like 9,000 fans with nobody there, playing in masks, no preseason, no postseason, just conference games, a really shortened schedule. I had 7 girls in my class and we were all super close. And I think some of my favorite memories from college were from freshman year, just because we got so close during that time in COVID where you couldn't really branch out a lot. And I think all of the student athletes were in our own little bubble on campus because we weren't allowed to do anything. And so I became super close with not just my volleyball teammates, but like the soccer girls, the football players, the basketball girls, basketball guys, like all of them, especially the ones that were there in the summer. We got super tight. And those are like my favorite lifelong college friends. And so that was great. I got to play just the next year in front of a sold out arena in Moby. We have really great fan support at Colorado State. So we have this great tradition called Whiteout. I think this year they're playing against Notre Dame in September, but we played against CU normally would be our like whiteout game. And we had this big home and home rivalry where we'd play at Colorado on like a Thursday. And then the next Friday we'd play at Colorado State. And it just was so special. And getting to play in front of 9,000 people at home. And we averaged probably 5,000 per game. So it was just a really, really special experience to be kind of treated like a premier sport at a big college. And I think as a female athlete, that's rare in some cases, not as much when you're talking about Big Ten volleyball, but it was super cool. And I have so many great memories from that time. And when I was in high school, I got recruited for both beach and indoor at different schools. And I kind of had the mentality of like, I didn't like one more than the other. I kind of just wanted to go with whatever school that I felt was the best fit for me. And so that was Colorado State. And when I committed there, Tom Hilbert was the coach at the time. And he said, like, if you want to take your 5th year playing beach volleyball, like, we support that. We'll help you. We'll make that happen. We've had players do that in the past. And so I was like, all right, like I'll probably do that. That was like kind of my thought. And then COVID happened. So then I actually had the choice my senior year, whether I was going to come back to CSU or if I was going to go and play beach volleyball. And I had a new head coach at the time, and she respected my initial agreement. And I basically was like, she's like, you just got to let me know by October, like what you're going to do, so we know if we have to replace your position. And so I decided like I wanted to do the beach volleyball thing. I had always thought about it. I thought I might regret it if I didn't give it a go. And like I said, in high school, I was I played every position. So I was a setter, I was an outside hitter, I did everything. And so I kind of missed that part of the game, like being able to be offensive and take more control than you can as like a DS or libero. So ended up at Corpus Christi. They had recruited me initially in high school as well. Got to go down to South Texas, which is very different from anywhere I've ever lived. But yeah, had a good experience, got to play some beach volleyball. I'm signed up for some tournaments. Daly and I are playing in Seaside at the end of summer, which is a big Oregon volleyball tournament. I'm playing in some mountain tournaments up here in Colorado. So Yeah, I'm excited. I think beach volleyball is a game you play a little longer, and it's something I'll do throughout my adult life. And so I'm really happy that I kind of got to get back into it. Now I'm coaching beach volleyball this summer too, and it's nice being out in the sunshine instead of in a gym. So yeah.
Well, certainly. And by the way, I just want to tell you, thank you for laying all of that out. I think that sets the scene really well for where I was hoping to go. You mentioned two things that really struck a chord with me. The first being that uh, oftentimes what I've heard when speaking to collegiate athletes is that they've figured out that playing a sport leads to a platform, which leads to a unique ability to jump into different roles. And I think you are another one who's a prime example of that, of being able to be multifaceted. When you talk about being the president of the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, when you talk about being a in-game commentator, when you talk about doing these things while being in that role of team leader, of being one of the shining lights on that roster also. Like, what was it like for you when you made that realization that I can wear these different hats? I'm not just Ruby the athlete. I can be a part of this community in a formed way.
Yeah, I think that was something really important to me even when I was choosing
Mm.
colleges. So, being from a small town, I always was really involved. I was in student government in high school, and I just felt like I wanted that community aspect of being a part of a collegiate team. And so when I got to Colorado State, my coach Tom, he was really a big advocate for that. He would always say like, you get out of the program what you put in, and he's like, that's outside of volleyball, that's in the community. And we did a lot of community service as a team, but I think I have always loved that part of being an athlete. You get a platform to give back in a way that's different from a normal student. And so immediately in my freshman and sophomore year, I was undeclared my freshman year, so kind of still figuring out what I wanted to do. And then I'd taken a journalism class, and a classmate, Madeline Davis, who we became very close friends after, had worked for the school TV show, and she was kind of like, I want to restart this show that used to be, it's called Laced Up, and it was a show that they'd used to do. Jenny Kavner was actually on it when she was at CSU, which she was the Rockies play-by-play, and now she's at the A's, but she's like a CSU legend. And she was on Laced Up when she was on CTV, the school TV show, and they wanted to restart it, and it's a full women run program about sports. And so the producer's a woman, all of the anchors and on-screen talent are women, you have women guests, like it's just a very female focused take on sports. And she wanted to start it up, and she's like, would you be interested in being an anchor with me for this show? And I think I was starting to lean towards doing sports broadcasting, but I hadn't really done much work outside of like class assignments and stuff like my freshman year. And I was like, yeah, that sounds really cool. Like, I'm in. And it was a feature show, so it was only 3 times a semester, and you just worked really hard over the month to develop this like high level feature show. And it was hard. Like, I had never shot my own stuff. I'd never created a package. And I had to learn how to do all this stuff. And I think I've always had a gift of talking to people. So the interviewing part wasn't super difficult for me. I was able to bring in student athlete friends. I brought in this girl, Lauren Gale, who is an Olympian at CSU, and she was able to be on our first show. And I was super psyched about that. But then it was like, okay, Ruby, you have to make a package now. I'm like, I don't know how to make a package. Like, no one's taught me how to do this. So it was really hard, but I think it's what taught me that I loved it. And Madeline helped me so much. She had been on CTV for a year, so she kind of guided me through it, helped me make my first package, which I did kind of a big piece on student athlete mental health at CSU, which stirred some things up in the athletic department. I was always one to kind of challenge things. I still am, but yeah, they had fired our sports psychologist at the time. And so I had made this piece on student athlete mental health, and we ended up getting a sports psychologist shortly after that. So I think just getting involved, that was kind of what started my track of getting involved. And then the position opened up to be the in-game host for the women's basketball team. So I started doing that my sophomore year. And then by my junior year, I was doing the men's basketball games, which were almost every home game was a sellout at CSU. And so that was super cool, which then led me, someone saw me do that, and I got hired for the Colorado Eagles, which is the AHL hockey team. And then worked for the Owls and now the Foxes baseball in town doing in-game hosting. And then I had the great opportunity. Our main play-by-play guy at CSU does softball, and he knew I was a softball player in high school. And so I went and did color for him for the whole softball season. And just kind of like once I had started doing things, it kind of rolled into like, Ruby, do you want to try this? Or like reaching out. I've never been afraid to reach out to people. That's why when you reached out to me, I never ever say no when people reach out to me, because I've been that person hundreds of times, like DMing people on Twitter and like, hey, do you want to be on my show? Or hey, can I come job shadow you today? And I think just the willingness to put yourself out there has really helped. And that's something that I think more student athletes should do. Like, that's always my advice to girls coming in, no matter what your career path is. Like, you have such an advantage. Like, people want to get to know you when you're a student athlete. And I think like people want you in their office, and people want to be a part of that and to be a part of that experience, especially in Fort Collins. It's kind of a smaller college town, and they love the sports at CSU, and they really support it. Like, I can go to a restaurant and people will notice me, and like it has that kind of small town community feel, which I think was why I was very drawn to it, because it's a lot bigger than my hometown, but it has that community support of like, we're in northern Colorado, so we're north of Denver, so we're a little bit separate from, you have to drive an hour to Denver to go see the professional teams there. So people really treat CSU like it's a big thing in town. And so I think just like I always tell people, like, get out there and like join things. And I love doing SAC. I was in SAC my freshman to senior year and was the president my senior year, and I absolutely loved it and got to make a lot of difference on campus and got to meet I have a great relationship with the athletic director and the president of the university. And like, I think the more you're willing to put yourself out there and like try things and just talk, like ask to have a meeting with people, like most of the time they appreciate it, you know? And so that's really what I think why I love this career path too, because you just get to meet so many great people. It's like, I get to sit here and talk to you and meet you. And like, it's a really cool job, I think. But yeah.
It certainly is. And it's only growing. That's the other thing. I think like there are so many avenues to get involved that are discounted because people look at it and say, well, I don't want to go and do that. I'm not sure that that's the right place for me. I think one of the things you've been mentioning, and it's an overarching topic as it should be, is the development and advancement and uplifting of women's sports in the college space. I was wondering, from your perspective, and being as though it's no secret now that women's sports are growing at a pretty high rate, and there are so many more eyeballs, what is your takeaway from the way it's grown? And I think importantly as well, like seeing as though we're here at a place where it has grown, how do we keep the momentum going as we move into this next chapter? Like you and I were talking about, the new news, hot off the press, house settlement, and legal departments are ironing out what they're going to do. There's money flying around. How do we keep this goal of moving forward at the forefront?
Yeah, I think like my main takeaway is like, there's not an argument that women's sports aren't entertaining. Like, I think that's always kind of been like, oh, men's basketball is more athletic or whatever people's argument are for that. Like, I have never been a basketball fan. I didn't play basketball. My family's not a basketball family. I have watched so much women's basketball in the last like 3 years because I love watching these athletes play. They're so incredibly talented, but then also like women's sports, like the women are staying in the college game longer. I think that's a big part of it is there's stories that are developing because Caitlin Clark is at Iowa for 4 years. Paige Beckers is at UConn for 5 years. It's like they're not leaving to go to the NBA or the WNBA a year into their college career. And so it's like there's just more. I think like that has been really fun to see on like the women's basketball and men's basketball side of things. Like March Madness for women's basketball is incredibly entertaining. The women's college softball World Series this weekend, like, are you kidding me? And there's an NIL athlete getting paid over $1 million to play at Texas Tech. Like, women's sports are entertaining, and I love to see like Patrick Mahomes there, because then it's like you're proving. And I mean, the Mahomes are so supportive of women's sports, especially in Kansas City, but it's like, I just think it's been so cool to see. And as somebody in the sports field, it's been really encouraging because there's so many more opportunities opening up for someone like me as well. It's like with the PVF and the Love League, and there's all these volleyball professional leagues that are developing in the United States, and it's opening up positions for young female broadcasters. And then it's really cool to see. And I think like the main thing for me is like there is no argument that women's sports aren't entertaining. People love women's sports. And I think at CSU too, one thing that I hear a lot from our fans and our fans who support men's basketball and football, they love coming to the volleyball games because they're like, the women are so much more like personable and they feel like they get to know us better. And that's just something that I've heard from fans. They're like, we feel like we really get to know you and we feel part of your life. And like, we know, like they ask how my family's doing. I go to like my first CSU booster event and people are like, how's your twin brother at Oregon State? I'm like, how do you know? But it's kind of cool and it's fun. And like, I don't know, I think it's just a different experience. And I think men's sports has always been kind of going more towards that professional path. And I think why people, kind of what we were talking about earlier, why people love college sports, there's a lot of that in the women's game that I think it's becoming more noticeable. And like, I mean, obviously when you talk about Big Ten volleyball, like how can you not love watching that? And now that these games are getting put on prime time, more people are getting access to like, they're understanding it. They're like, oh, this is actually really cool. But now we're finally at that space where we have a platform where people are actually, that's all you need is the platform, truly. And it's like, we've been telling you, it's awesome, it's cool. Like now everyone's kind of getting a taste of it. And I think it's cool to watch women's sports and to like women's sports. And you see guys who are like, yeah, Caitlin Clark can beat me one-on-one. Like she's like, that's just, I think it's awesome that we're starting to move in that direction.
Speaking of, and by the way, I have so appreciated your answers because I feel like they are setting me up for exactly what I want to get at. So let me ask you something, because you just mentioned it. Have you been tuned in to the VNL, the Volleyball Nations League down in Rio?
Yeah, there's a lot of drama with the VNL right now with like the who's in the starting lineup and all this stuff. I've been working a lot this week, so I haven't got to watch as much as I would like, but I've been following, gone back and watched some of the highlights, and I've seen the Twitter discourse for sure. But yeah, we actually got to go watch the VNL championships when I was on a foreign tour with CSU.
Really?
We went
Wow.
to Italy, Slovenia, and Turkey, and we went to go watch some of that, and it was so cool to see in person. But yeah, it's interesting. I love seeing, I mean, those players, I think that's the cool part about someone was just asking me about the difference between like the PVF and the Love League. And I think like obviously like the Love League it's a great organization and they have like these premier players with like Jordan Larson and like they have more internationals, but I actually do really enjoy the PVF league too, because it's these girls that we just all saw watch play in college. Right. And so it's kind of a cool, like they're different in a lot of ways. And I don't think I like one more than the other, but I do like the PVF league too, because it's like I'm getting to see all these girls who were playing in college, and it's fun to go see like Allie Batenhorst go back to Nebraska, and like I don't know, I think both have their own unique thing, and I don't know how it's gonna end up in the next year or so, but it's kind of cool, like with the VNL, seeing some of these collegiate players who just had great, amazing college careers go out and all get to play together, like all these all-stars from Texas and Nebraska and USC, and like they're all just, it's like a little college all-star team. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Absolutely. The one thing I wanted to mention to you off of the back of that question about the VNL, the coverage sucks, Ruby.
I know.
I'm watching it going, oh, you guys are horrible. Why are we doing this right now? Like, it's run by Big Ten Network, but I'm watching it having been in Big Ten Network for 4 years going,
yeah, no. I know. It's always disappointing when stuff like that doesn't get like the attention that you think it should, and like the marketing for it I think could have been a lot better too. That's one thing that I always kind of have complaints about, if I'm being honest, is like, okay, maybe it's on ESPN or it's on the Big Ten Network or whatever it is, but it's like, did you tell anyone? Like, has it been marketed anywhere? Like, no. I don't know. I think some of that, because it's like obviously that a volleyball fan is going to seek it out, but then it's like, You know what I mean? Like it would just be cool if it was marketed better. And like even through the colleges, like it's like, okay, you have Logan Eggleston like playing on the team or whoever it is, and it's like, why don't people in Texas, like I just think like there's a lot more opportunities for it to be marketed better, as well
Mhm.
as the actual broadcast quality.
Yeah.
But
No, I remember I was watching a couple nights ago against Brazil. I had to check in with that one. And I
yeah,
just kept shaking my head, going, this is stupid. Like, let's get it right here. I mean, come on. Uh, who are some of the players? And I wanna take a pigeonhole into volleyball right now, because who are some of the players that you look at? And as we talk about the LOV and then we talk about the PVF, and that talent split, right? On one side, you got folks such as Pickett, Sarah Franklin, the Maddie Skinners of the world, and then on the other side, it's like, well, you got Merritt Beeson, and you have, um, Hannah Pukis, like things of this nature. Over on this side, like, what do you think about the fact that they may be looking at a merger in the years to come? And, like, is it a hindrance that they're continuing to be separate with these two different products, that people are asking what's the difference? Because I feel like when you sit here and you're asking these questions, it's like maybe we should eliminate the question.
yeah, I that's a really good question, and I think that's something that's come up a lot. Like when non-volleyball fans are asking me about it, they're like, or like even like it's just I think a lot of volleyball coaches and players agree like it shouldn't have been like two or three different leagues starting at the same time. Like it's not sustainable, and I think that's what we're seeing when people are talking about the merger. Like it's just not sustainable. And it's like if we want to do volleyball in the United States, like I wish everyone could have just come together and like been on the same page and created like one product that was going to be successful,
Mm-hmm.
where like I think from what I've seen like the Love League has a better business model, and so it seems like they are going to be the one that's going to last. But and they're getting the more premier players. But yeah, I do think it is a little bit of a hindrance, and I think it makes it confusing for people who aren't really like up to date volleyball fans. I think it makes it confusing for people who are just like people who like volleyball. Maybe their kids playing volleyball and they want to go to a volleyball game, but they don't really understand like what's the difference between this or that. Or college fans that are watching these players go off and they're like, what's the Love League? What's the PVF? Like, I don't get it. I'm hoping that the merger will create more continuity if it does happen and open up more locations. Like that would be what I think would be the coolest would be if they were able to combine and keep some of the locations that the PVF has and the Love League has, but then put one in the Northwest, put one like on the East Coast, like spread it out a little bit where it's this whole product, like instead of just like an MBA or an like an MSL, like that sort of thing. It's just
Mm-hmm.
like it's too confusing, I think, when it's different and it's separate. And then you have players like kind of throwing shade at each other with like the leagues, and it's like, okay, I just think like it is a great thing that professional volleyball is in the United States. Like that is so cool. And that's something growing up, like when you think like, oh, maybe I want to play professionally, or like you see teammates who are going to play professionally, like I've seen so many people not able to do it because they don't like being across the world. Like that's a really big commitment to make, to have to go overseas if you want a professional career. And it's truly not for everybody. Even if they are amazing volleyball players, it's hard to be that far away from home. So I think it's so cool that it's an opportunity, and that it's an opportunity for, it's not just like, I think if it was just the Love League, it would be a very elite group, and they're bringing internationals. So it is limiting like opportunities for some of the American collegiate players to create this elite league. And it's very kind of selective. So I think that is the cool part about the PVF, is it's opening it up for more people. But I do wish there was some continuity, and I wish everybody was kind of on the same page from the get-go, instead of like we're going to do our own thing and we're going to do our own thing, and like we're kind of competing against each other with this. I don't know. I think it would have been cool to see the volleyball brains come together instead, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it is what it is. I think eventually we'll get to that point.
Sure.
Probably not by choice for some of those people, but yeah.
No, one of the names that we mentioned, speaking about the VNL, is Maddie Skinner. And I think, like, as I've been looking around, dissecting the game, one of the scariest shots to ever face, I'm curious to know what you think, is a Maddie Skinner back row attack. Like, whenever I see that thing, I get fired up. I jump out on my seat. I go, oh my gosh, that thing could save lives. You know what else though is I was watching the Nebraska-Kansas match when they just did a spring game, April 27th. And Andy Jackson ran one out of the back. And
that was crazy. I think the right side back row attack is something that we're going to see a lot more in the college game. Yeah. It's really big professionally. And like we utilized it a little bit at CSU with Malaya Jones. She was a very strong right side that we had play back row, and we kind of hit her in serve receive and defense, but like we'd be running that D ball like nobody's business, and people don't know how to defend against it because you don't see it very often. And I think a back row attack from somebody like Maddie Skinner, it is so hard. Like we had a couple girls in the Mountain West that were really strong back row attack players. It is very hard to defend against a back row attack, especially when there's offensive weapons in the front row. And if there's a really good middle that's running like floods and slides, and then you open up that BIC, like the middle blocker is going to probably bite on the flood or the slide. And then you're in the back row and Maddie Skinner's up and you're like, oh my gosh, like protect my face. Like, yeah. So I think the back row attack, we're going to see a lot more of these like players that are more versatile, able to play like the right side. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they kept Andy Jackson in like if she's serving, run her from the right side. She's a super talented player. And I actually think that those Nebraska girls playing beach for a little bit in the spring does really help with that versatility in the game. Like you have to be able to pass and set and hit from everywhere on the court. And so I think it's cool that they do that. They do like the half season of beach for those girls to kind of like, I don't know, try something different. It's like a different kind of cross training in the off season, but yeah.
Really, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. And I so appreciate your answers. Clearly well thought out, meticulous, and ready to take on any role in social media and in broadcast. How would you feel about doing a rapid fire segment right before we get out of here?
I'm good. Hit me.
Cool. So here we go. It's episode 35. This is Rolling Loud on the Rec Room. And it's version number 18 of these. Started at episode 17 with Canby Minor from Stanford. Canby Minor, let's go.
Insanely impressive. Yeah, I got to play against her my junior year. I think we played Stanford here, and she is really good.
Yes, absolutely. And for me, looking, from the outside, I'm sitting there going, I'm glad I'm not on the floor, basically.
Yeah.
But the Rolling Loud Rapid Fire started with Canby, and it's continued on. Thank you for doing it. I've got 3 questions for you.
Okay.
Number 1, if you could define your coaching style in a matter of 3 words, how would you do it?
Positive, motivational, and specific.
Tell me about the specificity of your coaching. When does that come in? What's an example of something you might provide to an athlete?
I think I really like to, I try not to just give like broad things. Like I like to really watch a player and try to give them a specific tip or something, or like an analogy or something that will help them. And if I don't think that it works the first time, like I'm going to keep thinking until I can find something that's going to click for them. And I think like coaches that did that for me, I like really appreciated when they saw like the uniqueness and like me as a player and would coach me as Ruby instead of coaching like everybody the same. So I try to kind of be specific and find unique things and try to coach each player differently, the way that's going to benefit them the most, I guess.
Sure. When I had a chance to interview Dan Messi with the Cardinals, he talked about the fact that he would love to see volleyball played on an aircraft carrier if only you could control the wind. Where is somewhere that you would like to play volleyball in this world if you had the opportunity to set it up?
Oh my gosh. That's tough. I think, oh my goodness. I feel like somewhere really tropical and warm where like the fans are going to be crazy and rowdy, like maybe like Brazil or something like that, where like there would be lots of crazy rowdy fans, but I would be in the sunshine and it would be outside. I don't know if I would want to play on an aircraft carrier personally, but Yeah, I think somewhere with like really fun culture where everyone's having a good time, but it's out in the sunshine and there's an ocean and a beach. If there's an ocean and a beach and it's warm, I'm there. That's my perfect scenario every time.
I love it. I love it. I remain curious as to why somebody has not put a Terraflex on the beach and gone 6 on
Right?
6. It's like, let's go. It shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah, that would be fun. That's a good point.
And then last one for you, Ruby. Is there anybody who you'd like to shout out throughout your volleyball journey, throughout your broadcast side of things? Floor is yours right now.
That's a good one. I always have to go back to my mom. Like, that's kind of a basic response, but my mom is my best friend. I talk to her on the phone every single day. I probably would not have gotten through my college volleyball career without thousands and thousands of phone calls to my mom. She's probably has a little bit of PTSD from that experience, but yeah, she's my number one. I think like we've been in it together, and we're coaching JV volleyball at Canby High School next year, so
Wow.
go Cougs, hoping to get some broadcast opportunity on top of that. But
Mm-hmm.
so far that's I'm really excited to go back and do that in the fall with her. I think Tom Hilbert, my first volleyball coach at CSU, has helped me immensely in my career stuff. Like he's the one who's thrown my name out there a lot and kind of getting me in the right rooms and talking to the right people. So I really appreciate him. Holly McPeak has been a huge mentor for me. Jenny Kavnar, those women have really helped kind of mentor me. And I job shadowed Jenny Kavnar my sophomore year at the Rockies. And I think that was kind of the turning point where I'm like, I want to be you when I grow up. And this is like, I want this to be my career. So she's great. Holly is great. She helped me get recruited for beach volleyball. She watches all my reels. Like she's the GOAT. She's awesome. But yeah, I would say those women and Tom have really helped me in my career and in volleyball. So
Well, Ruby Kayser, you're awesome. This has been the Rec Room episode 35. I so appreciate you, and I'm excited to see where you go. I'm excited now to stay in touch and, be a point of contact as we continue to move and push the envelope on this whole broadcast thing. So thank you
yes,
very much.
for sure. You too. You're going to do great things. I know it.
And appreciate y'all out there for the support of the Rec Room, and have a great day, morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you might be.